Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Virtuous Bodies YouTube channel. I am Dr. Tamara Richards, and today I am actually going to be breaking down how I actually use MyFitnessPal to track my food, okay? So I'll be spilling all the beans and the tricks of the trade to help you actually make this a seamless process. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So the first things first, there are two different versions of MyFitnessPal. You have the desktop version and you also have the mobile app version. So I'm actually going to focus on the mobile app version because it's easy to download. All you have to do is to go to your app store, go ahead and find the MyFitnessPal app, download it, and input your information. So MyFitnessPal is going to ask you a series of questions that will include your age, your weight, your height, your current activity level. They're then going to take that information to compute out a set of calories for you to follow. Inside of those calories, they will also give you your macros in which they recommend that you should follow. So I'm actually going to grab my phone so we can go ahead and go through MyFitnessPal and I can walk you through some of the basics and kind of give you some tips and tricks of the trade. Okay, so now that I have my phone, I have my home screen open up on my MyFitnessPal app. Now, the first things first is I do not have the premium option, okay? So the premium option is an option that you can use where you can get customized settings of your macro goals by meal, by day, and access to different recipes and things of that nature. So I don't use that. I don't use the premium option. You do not have to use the premium option if you are tracking your food, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks along the way so that you can kind of bypass that option. But if you do want to use the premium option, it is $19.99 through the MyFitnessPal app. Now, on your home screen, you will see that it does show you your calories. So the moment you open up your app, you are able to see how many calories are actually remaining based off what you've already logged in. If you go to the second icon at the bottom of the screen, you will see diary. Now diary is actually going to track everything that you are eating throughout the day. Again, you can see your remaining calories at the top, but you can then see what I actually have eaten today. So my first tip that I'm going to give you is you want to pre-track your food the day before. We kind of already know what we're eating, and especially if you're already meal prepping, you can go ahead and put in those foods that you're going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It will help save time. So as you can see, I have already pre-tracked my food here inside of MyFitnessPal. I didn't really know what I was going to eat for lunch, so therefore that's not there, but for the most part, everything else is there. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about how do you add foods inside of the MyFitnessPal app. If you look at the middle button, the blue button, you can hit the plus sign. Here it gives you the ability to record your weight, your water, your status, meaning you can actually send messages to friends that are following you on MyFitnessPal, add your food, and exercise. So here we're actually going to add food. So I'm going to hit food. I'm actually going to log my lunch, okay? So I actually made a sweet potato, kale, and mushroom and red pepper dish, and I air fried a salmon. And so I'm going to walk you through how I'm actually going to log this into MyFitnessPal, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit lunch, okay? So let's talk about this screen here. So this screen here basically gives you the ability to scan a meal, and I have never used this option, but you can actually scan a meal and MyFitnessPal will actually kind of predict and say what those items on your plate are and actually log them in for you. I have not tried it, but I hear that it is pretty impressive. You can also use scan barcode. So I have this water bottle of Zephyr Hills sitting here, so I can scan this barcode here and it will then pull up Zephyr Hills. I also have a snack here that I had before I got on here of a Kind bar. I love these bars here. So I have a Kind bar here, and so I'm going to scan this Kind bar and log it in as my snack. So let's see. So there we go. It actually logs the Kind bar. Another tip I am going to give you, whenever you are logging something, you always want to flip over your product that you have, your food product, and make sure that your label actually matches what is in MyFitnessPal, because this database is actually built from people putting in entries, and those entries may actually be erroneous and may not be valid. And so you want to make sure that what is in MyFitnessPal does match your label, okay? So as you can see, everything matches up, everything looks good, everything matches my label. And so now I'm just going to actually change this from lunch, and I'm going to say that I had that for meal number 2. My meal number 2 is simply my snack, okay? And so now I'm going to save that, and now that automatically adds that to my meal number 2, okay? It's right here. All right, so now let's go back to the plus sign and let me log in my lunch. Okay, so we talked about the all section. Now my meals are meals that I have eaten in the past. Okay, another tip that I'm going to give you to save yourself time, if you have about an hour, what you should do when you first start MyFitnessPal is to already log meals and recipes and foods that you know that you regularly eat. Like for me, I would go ahead and scan in a Kind bar. I would go ahead and scan in the stuff that I put in my smoothie. I would go ahead and scan in or create a recipe for my egg bites in the morning. That way those items are readily available. So all of these items that you see under my meals are meals that I have actually eaten already, okay? So let me break down meals. The difference between meals and recipe is meals are foods that are a 1 serving food, okay? So if you look here, you will see that I have jerk salmon on here. I have honey lemon pepper salmon. I have smoothies. I have overnight oats. I have salad. So think smoothies, shakes, salad, sandwiches, a 1 piece of meat that you put some seasoning over. A food item that only you can eat in 1 serving should go under your meals, okay? Now your recipes are meals that once you cook it will yield multiple servings, okay? That is the difference between a meal and a recipe. Meal, that food will only give you 1 serving. A recipe will give you multiple servings, okay? And so as you can see, I have filed all of my recipes that I have ever cooked, and these are all my recipes that I have in Plan Eats. They are right here. So when I go ahead and follow my recipe from Plan Eats and I cook it, all I need to do is, let's just say I'm having the shrimp and grits. I can click add. I'm having that for meal number 6. And it's going to go ahead and it's going to add it to MyFitnessPal. Now when I go here, I see my shrimp and grits are here. Now I'm not eating shrimp and grits, okay? So I'm going to take that off, but I wanted to give you an example. So the key is to actually go in, log in as many foods as you know that you readily eat. That way it is very simple and easy for you just to click and log, okay? So let's go ahead and let's build the recipe that I actually cooked. Now I already have this recipe in here. This recipe is already in here somewhere. Here it is, because I already have cooked it before, but I'm actually going to relog it in so you can see how I create my recipes. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go with my lunch. I'm going to go click recipes, create a new recipe, and I'm going to say sweet potato, kale, peppers, and mushroom. All right, so this actually gave me 4 servings. Now, Dr. Tamara, how do you know it's 4 servings? So how I determine my serving size is in each one of my containers, I'm going to put 4 ounces or 5 ounces of this entire dish inside of a container. However many containers that dish that makes is my serving size. So I put 4 ounces of this meal inside of 4 containers, so that's 4 servings, okay? Here is another tip. Your ingredients, you want to be as specific as possible. Make sure that you put your brand name of the ingredients that you're using, as well as the store that you actually got it from. So if you got some Costco Butterball turkey, it becomes easier for the MyFitnessPal database to find that specific product that is actually sold at Costco. So I'm putting sweet potato, red bell pepper, kale, mushrooms, and I got them from Publix, some garlic salt, Chef Paul. So I actually use 3 potatoes. Normally what I would do is I would actually cut up my potatoes, dice them, put them on the scale, and find out how many ounces it is. That is the best way to do that. So as you can see, when I went in to try to log it, it's telling me that I cannot change this from 1 medium, 5-inch long, 2 ounces. So whenever that pops up, you're going to go ahead and click search for alternative. Here is another tip, okay? As you are weighing your food, what I normally do is I actually take a picture of the food on the scale so I can easily record that weight into MyFitnessPal. Some people also have a piece of paper where they'll write sweet potato 6 ounces, red peppers 1 ounce. So like when they get to this portion, all they're doing is looking and plugging and chugging, okay? I just use 1 red bell pepper, so I'm going to put that there. With my kale, it doesn't allow me to change it, so I'm going to search for alternative. I'm going to click the first one. I actually use cups in this, and I actually use 3 cups of kale. Again, you can also change this to ounces, but I use cups, so it's an estimation. And remember, this is not going to be exact. MyFitnessPal is really an estimation, but you want to be as close as possible. So that's why it is recommended that you at least have a food scale and a measuring cup. Now, you want to use your food scale for all foods except for liquids. Liquids must be measured out using your measuring cup. All right, so when it comes to the Bella mushroom, I am actually going to choose the Publix Baby Bella mushroom, and I used 1 container. I know just from experience that is usually 8 ounces, so I'm going to use 8 ounces here. Lawry's, I use 0.25 of the teaspoon, and I use the Red Magic seasoning, and let's just say I use a 1/2 teaspoon, and everything is in. All right, everything is in MyFitnessPal. And then when you look at the bottom here, if you look at the bottom here, it already has your calories, but at the bottom, this is where you can actually change your serving. Let's say that you actually made 6 of these. It will automatically update the macros and the calories for you. So we actually use 4, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to save it. Now, when you look, you can see that now you have your calories, you have all of your macros. At this phase, when I am building my recipes, I am always looking to make sure that everything is correct. I'm making sure the sodium is okay, the carbs aren't too crazy, because this is where you can find if you actually made a mistake with logging in, okay? So when I go in here, you can either choose to save it or save it and log it. So I'm actually going to put it as save and log because that is what I ate for lunch, okay? So I already have my blackened salmon that I made already logged under a meal, because each day when I am cooking it, I'm literally just taking it out of a freezer bag and I'm defrosting it, but it's 1 serving. You can see all of the ingredients there because I'm making 1 serving at a time, and all I'm going to do is hit the plus button and it's going to automatically save my food, okay? And so that is how you use recipes, that is how you use meals, and that is how you actually log your food. Now that I know what I'm having for dinner, I'm having spaghetti, I have my breakfast, I have my lunch, I can now see what wiggle room I have. Let's say my girls want to go and get ice cream. Let's say they want to, I don't know, go get a donut. I can then look in this section and say, okay, well, I have 29 grams of protein, 31 grams of carbs, 39 grams of fat remaining. So I got a little wiggle room. So let's say that I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to take them to Minchie's. As you can see, I've been to Minchie's, and I'm going to get my favorite chocolate ice cream, and I'm going to log that. And then I always get the snow caps. All right. So if I do 1 scoop of snow caps, this allows you to go into restaurants and places and have a game plan when you go in. And now I don't feel guilty. I'm slightly over on my carbs. I'm slightly over on the sugar. My fat is fine. I'm well within range of my sodium. And I've had ice cream with my kids, okay? And so that's the beauty of tracking your macros, okay? Now that we went over how to log in your food, let's take a look at how do you actually set your goals, okay? You want to go from the home screen, go and click more, then click on goals. Here is where you're going to put your weight, your current weight, your goal weight. You then want to click calorie, carbs, protein, and fat goals, okay? Let's just say that your calorie was 2,000. Here is where that macro split comes in that I told you about last week. Let's say that you wanted to do a macro split of 40% carbs, because you're like, you know what, I can't give up on my carbs right now, but let me be realistic, okay? Let's say that you wanted to do 20% protein and keep your fat at 40%, all right? So now your carbs split is in, your calories is in. When you hit the button, it is now going to save that. If we go back to the diary, you will see that everything is updated. So that's how you enter in your macro goals. Now, if you are using customized macros, MyFitnessPal is automatically going to try to revert you back to the calories and macros that they have already calculated for you. So if that happens, you simply need to go in, put your calories in, hit the back button again, and see if it changes. Okay, if it does not change, which is fine here, but for you it may not change, you go back in again, reset it, and after the second time, your macros and calories should stick. So now that we're talking about customized macros, let me explain to you why exactly you do not want to log workouts into MyFitnessPal. If we go back to our plus sign at the bottom and we add exercise, this is going to bring up a menu for you to choose between cardio, strength training, and your workout routine, okay? So if you choose cardio and you go ahead and say, you know what, I did the elliptical machine, let me choose the elliptical, all right? So I'm gonna put that I did a 30-minute elliptical exercise, all right? MyFitnessPal is estimating that I burnt 349 calories, all right? It then added in 349 calories, okay? If you are using customized macros, your nutritionist, health coach has already accounted for your activity level in your TDEE, okay? So when MyFitnessPal adds these extra calories, it takes you out of a caloric deficit, or actually will put you in a caloric surplus by adding these calories in. So you do not want to add in any exercise activity. If your watch is connected to your MyFitnessPal app, you want to delete those entries if you are using customized macros, okay? If you hit the progress area, you can actually see your weight and how you're progressing along. You can also take pictures as well inside of MyFitnessPal and actually track your inches as well. The last thing I will also talk about is your recipes. Let's say that I wanted to find a particular recipe. This is where I would go. But let's say that this time in my apple glazed salmon bacon crumble, I changed the amount of bacon that I put into this recipe. Go into that recipe and click edit recipe. And then I can go in here and just change the bacon. So let's say I actually use 5 slices of bacon this time. When I go in here and I save it, now it's saved with the updated amount of bacon in it, okay? So that's one other thing I wanted to share with you, okay? Again, pre-log all of your foods after you meal prep them. Take pictures of your weighted food as you're cooking it so that you can easily make the recipes and the meals later. You also want to pre-track your food before going out to eat. Let's say you're going to Carrabba's and you're going to get the chicken brine. And this is how you make an informed decision. Are you comfortable with getting 30 grams of fat in one serving at a meal? Okay, if you're okay with that, you go ahead and you log it. And then you can go back and see, okay, calorie wise, and this is why macros matter over calories. Let's look at this example, okay? Calorie wise, you only have 2 more calories remaining, and you don't have minchies and salmon and breakfast, so you think you're good. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at your nutrition and your macros. Now, protein is not a problem that you're over on protein. Protein is excellent. Your carbs, you are okay. You're at 19 grams. Your fat, you're at 10 grams. But let's say 2,000 calories is not most people's goals. Okay, so now let's go in here and let's change these macros to something that's more reasonable. Now let's set your macro goal at 1,800 calories. We're going to give you a 30% carbs. We're going to bump up your protein to 25% and fat to 35%. Now let's take a look at adding Carrabba's to your diary. All right, let's see. Now we see we are already over by 200 calories. No big deal. Let's take a look at our macros. You are over on your carbs by 24 grams, your fat by 9 grams, over on sugar by 19 grams. So now you know, even before stepping foot into Carrabba's the day before, that you need to make some adjustments to your breakfast lunch, and snacks, so that if you want to eat the chicken Brian, you got to make some adjustments so things can fit. So this is why you don't want to look at calories. You want to look at macros, so to make sure that you're not eating a bunch of carbs that are going to be stored as fat, and you're not overeating on fat. Okay. This is the basics of MyFitnessPal. My prayer is that you gained something from this video and that you feel comfortable with using this easy free tool to help you navigate tracking your foods, okay? And so next week's episode, I'm actually going to go further in depth as to why you should not be using the MyFitnessPal calculator, and you should be hiring a coach to coach you through your goals, because MyFitnessPal, unfortunately, even though it is a great tool, it is a tool that can actually destroy your metabolism and keep you on a vicious cycle of dieting. And we're going to talk about that next week. Now, if you're watching this video, I can only assume that you may have a little bit of troubles with your nutrition, or you really just want to learn a little bit more about your nutrition. The first thing about nutrition is knowing exactly what your eating habits are. And I created a healthy eating habits quiz to really help you gauge whether you're overeating, undereating, eating to lose or maintain weight, so that you can actually know what your baseline is and you can work from there. It is a 10-question quiz, and at the completion of that quiz, I give you 3 simple steps that you can do that will help you continue to work towards your goals, okay? So go ahead and click the link below and go ahead and take that quiz. I would love to help you learn your baseline and see you grow from there. Now, remember to please follow me on Instagram at Virtuous Bodies. On there, you can click in my stories and see me running behind these darn kids, okay? Or going out on date night with my husband on weekends, being a clinical pharmacist, health coach, and everything else and every other hat that I do, okay? So I look forward to seeing you on next week's episode. Take care.